Hello, everyone. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP. And I got to start with this from the Crypto Basic. Cardano founder criticizes Ripple CEO on Clarity Act support. Despite widespread criticism of the Clarity Act, particularly over DeFi restrictions and the potential ban on stablecoin yields, Garlinghouse has continued to back the bill. He argues that, although imperfect, the legislation offers more certainty than the regulatory chaos of the previous SEC administration. However, Hoskinson rejected this position, contending that accepting flawed legislation for some clarity effectively returns control to the same regulators who previously sued and constrained crypto firms. Here's where I am on this. I don't like the idea of them banning yield on stablecoins. I think that there should be a number that you can earn off of holding a stablecoin. Maybe cap it at 3%. But the banks don't want to give us anything. Then the DeFi issue is another problem as well. And I think that's why Coinbase is fighting back against this bill also. I understand Brad just wants to get some sort of clarity, and I think retail investors hope that it pumps their bags. But here's the problem. If this bill gets pushed through and people are expecting revisions later, do you know how hard it's going to be to get these politicians to come back to the table to make future revisions? It's going to be almost impossible. And I think it's better to have this addressed before it even gets passed than to have it be passed and then deal with the problems down the road. That's my view on it. And there's a lot of infighting on this right now, and it's creating a lot of drama. I just wish we could get something good out of this for retail. In other words, if you want to pull the money out of your checking and savings account and park it into a stable coin, you should definitely get some sort of yield for that. And that should stay in place. Even if they cap it, I would still be fine with it. And this comes from Paul Barron. Did Trump sell out crypto? Paul is not happy with the White House right now. Take a listen.
Let me ask you, do you think Trump and the administration sold out crypto?
I did not like the Trump coin debut, right? I think that set the tone for me. It seemed to me like a pump and a rug pull, but it certainly didn't come across as someone who really believed in the long-term viability of crypto.
Well, here's the thing. I am not happy with the White House right now, because if they're trying to put pressure on the industry because they are fighting back for the bare minimum of what we have been asking and expecting in these laws, yield, I mean, come on, guys. This is bad banks doing bad bank behavior, like always, going after your yield. And it's interesting that so many people came out and kind of got that thing delayed for a little bit. But now you have the White House saying, wait a minute, we need to get this through. I'm a little concerned with that.
That's why I said we should get yield. You know how big that would be for anyone cashing out a substantial amount of money off of their crypto into a stable coin and then earning that percentage on that stable coin. And when it comes to Trump, I think he should have stepped back from crypto until we got regulations in place and then dropped Trump coin and Melania coin and so on. But the fact that he showed interest in this space early on, I think that slowed down some of the progress, because now they're like, well, if he's behind it, we're not behind it anymore. You see what I'm saying? If he would have just waited, probably we would already have some sort of regulations in place already. Is another landmark Ripple vs. SEC saga loading? Here's what this prominent attorney has to say. So right now, they're the Democrats are trying to rehash the crypto crackdown. They're blasting the U.S. SEC for retreating from its enforcement duties in the crypto sector and calling on Chairman Paul Atkins to explain why it dropped several high-profile crypto cases. But here's the good thing. The SEC cannot reopen the Ripple lawsuit. We're not going to go through that again. I see so many people saying that we're going to have Ripple versus SEC part 2. That's not going to happen. I want to assure you all of that. And even Bill Morgan, who's an attorney, says this is not going to happen again. But I do believe they might open a few of those other cases if the SEC caves to their demands. If the SEC holds strong, that all is done and over with. Crypto traders are betting against a U.S. government shutdown despite the looming January 30th deadline. So there's only a 19% chance of a U.S. government shutdown happening by January 31st. There is still the risk of a partial shutdown as Democrats push for Republicans to defund ICE. Another shutdown could have significant impact on the crypto market. What would happen if they had another government shutdown? The Clarity Act would get kicked down the road, most likely into the midterms. And then if it doesn't get passed before the midterms, most likely it's not going to get passed at all. Also, we see how the government shutdown impacted crypto last year. I think we will see the same thing happen if it happens again. Let's hope they keep the government open so things can continue to push ahead. Big move from South Korea. The National Assembly has passed new legislation for tokenized real-world assets, requiring official registration through its Central Securities Depository. Clear rules, legal recognition, institutional-ready tokenization. Real-world assets keep going mainstream. I wonder if Ripple is going to be involved there. We know South Korea absolutely loves XRP. So now it looks like South Korea is entering the tokenization game as well. Other countries, they want to get things done now because the U.S. is still dragging their feet. Other countries can get the upper hand. And that's why you're seeing country after country getting legislation put in place right now. Financial stress, America's #1 life problem in 2026. Causes, impacts, and practical steps to improve. So 61% of Americans identify money as their primary life stressor. 53% report an increase in financial stress over the past year. 48% feel more stressed heading into 2026 compared to the start of 2027, up from 43% the previous year. 32% expect their personal finances to worsen in 2026, marking the highest level of pessimism since Bankrate began tracking this in 2018. So they're talking about the rising cost of living and everyday expenses, low income, lack of emergency savings, debt, and job insecurity. This is why people invest into crypto, to break away from this. You know, I always told you, money really doesn't matter because what money really does for you, it buys you time and it alleviates all this stress at the same time. But only in crypto can the working person come in with very little money and invest week over week and walk away with life-changing money. Because when these cryptocurrencies break out, it's going to happen quickly. And people are going to make, over the course of a few weeks, what they would make working 5 years for someone else. That's why crypto is such a good investment. And sure, you might have to hold through some dips, through some sideways action, but in the end, it will absolutely be worth it. When we enter the exciting time and the euphoric time, you will realize that it was all worth it in the end. But everybody right now is stressing over money. But these are the same people that you probably talked to about crypto multiple times in the past, and they just didn't want to hear it. I know people that live paycheck to paycheck, and every single Friday, all they talk about is going out to the bar, going and doing this, going and doing that. It's like if you took a little bit of that money and invested it now, you could do all those things later. You'll have time to go to bars and do all that stuff because you will make life-changing money in this space. But it all starts with you making your first investment. And that's why I tell people, if you want some sort of hope, that's what crypto really gives you. When you start investing in crypto, you get that hope that it's going to happen, that we are going to see that breakout. You honestly think XRP could continue going sideways or dipping every so often forever? No. It all leads up to a parabolic run. And when that run happens, people are going to call you lucky. Some people are absolutely going to hate you because you told them to get invested and they didn't listen. Flare CEO reveals life-changing passive income opportunity for XRP holders. Now, he's talking about how you can make money and turn your XRP into more XRP, earning yield and so on. But right here is the reason why nobody wants to do this, because there's risk involved. However, Philion reminded listeners that staking increases risk each time another layer is added. Notably, higher returns often come with more exposure, so users need to understand what they are doing. He stressed that there was a difference between normal financial risk, where tokens rise and fall with the market, and technology or design failures. He said that Flare works hard to remove technical risk so users only deal with the real market movement, not poor infrastructure. I think what Flare is building is great. But when you start talking about earning 9, 10, 11, 12% on your XRP, that comes with a hell of a lot of risk. Usually, if you're going to get yield, you want to see it somewhere between maybe 3 and 6%. Lower is better. Lower returns means lower risk. I still think we're going to have better ways when the institutions get into this space, or even when the banks start flooding into this space. They're going to have risk-free options. But I do believe that Flare, what they're building, is absolutely incredible. But people aren't going to use it until there's no risk of them losing their XRP. Ripple's stablecoin volume increases by 129%. RLUSD is still gaining in volume. And we're going to see this happen all throughout this year. More and more momentum. And we will see this reflected in the price of XRP. It's just a matter of time. But I still think RLUSD is going to rise as either the US digital dollar or the number one stablecoin. It will get to that level because everything that Ripple is doing, it's all in a regulated way. There's no risk involved. With Tether, they can't pass an audit. Ripple can pass an audit. That's the difference. But I think RLUSD is going to be a major utility driver for XRP over time. But until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. with that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.